Welcome back to Property Play. I'm your host, Elena Saradidis, and today I'm with Jonathan Hacohen, and we're talking all things Family Day. I said we should talk about cohabitation agreements, but Jonathan said because it's Family Day, we should talk about Family Day.
Well, first of all, happily belated Valentine's Day to everybody. We just finished off Valentine's Day, the day of love. I love how they have the long weekend where you go into love and Valentine's Day and it scoots into Family Day. Isn't that great?
Maybe they correlate.
They know what they're doing. They got a plan. They got a plan. That's why they couldn't call it Love Day. So, the original plan was to call it, they needed a holiday, right? They're like, man, we need a holiday. We need another holiday. We need a long weekend. We need something in February. What are we going to do? We got Valentine's Day. We can't call it Love Day because it's too close to Valentine's. How about Family Day? And boom, Family Day was born.
Mm-hmm.
True story.
Do you know how Valentine's Day was born?
I do not.
Okay, this might be completely fake news because I saw it on a TikTok. And that's where we get all our information now, right?
Pretty much.
But apparently there was a Saint Valentine and he was marrying people in Italy illegally during the war because the best gladiators were ones that were unmarried. So he was marrying them illegally, and then on today, they offed him.
Yes.
Because he kept marrying people illegally. So it became Valentine's Day.
That's what they call it.
Because he was marrying people, that were in love that weren't allowed technically to get married.
That's why I think they call it Valentine's Day Massacre. But we don't think of that anymore. And then we just think about the flowers and chocolates and all that good stuff. But we all finished off Valentine's Day. We're now in Family Day, right?
Yep.
And for me, typically people think Family Day, family togetherness, right? You know where my mind goes, Elena? Real estate.
How does it go to real estate, Jonathan?
Because today is Family Day. Everybody's watching this. They're sitting at home right now with their loved ones. They're like, wow, what am I supposed to do on Family Day? Nobody told me. Christmas. I get to watch those Christmas movies and do carols. What do I do on Family Day?
You go to my open houses.
You go to Elena's open houses. And Family Day is the perfect time because you finished off December, January. You got the holiday seasons out of the way. You got all the gift giving. Now you're at the beginning of the year. You finished off January. You're now hoping near the end of the winter, going into spring. To me, Family Day is Family Real Estate Assessment Day. Now it's time for families to sit and bond together and say, hey, where are we real estate wise today? And where should we be real estate into the future? I think it's time to look at real estate. Family Day, Family Real Estate Assessment Day.
That's a new one. I might brand that. That might be a thing now.
You own it. I'm giving it to you. You own it. I don't need any rights to it.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, I can tell you this. I know that leading up to Family Day, we usually see a little bit of a lull in the real estate market because people are usually spending time with their family over the weekend. Sometimes they are going to open houses, so they are quite popular during that weekend. A little bit longer. We run open houses on Mondays as well during that time. But what I do notice is a lot of people wait until after the long weekend to list properties.
Bingo. And there's two sets of people I've noticed. There's the kinds that were listing a month or so ago, gave up, and now they're coming back into circulation. And there's the people that were on the sidelines were holding off. And they're like, you know what? There seems to be a lot of demand, not a lot of supply. Maybe I don't want to list in the spring with everybody else. And maybe I will have a bigger pool of demand and less supply to compete against. Interesting thought.
I feel like the major takeaway from what you just said is literally do not wait until the spring and put it up now. And I've told everyone that. I think we had an early spring market, or we're having an early spring market. There are buyers out there hunting. Every time I talk to a real estate agent, which is way too often, apparently all my friends are real estate agents now. But every time I talk to a real estate agent, the consensus is we have buyers and we have no inventory to show them. And it's not that there's no inventory on the market. There's a bunch of inventory on the market, but there's not a lot of good inventory on the market. There's not a lot of things that people really want to buy right now.
But if there is something really good,
it moves.
It moves because there's still that demand. Can I give you the metaphor to real estate that I love using? And it's cars. I love cars, right?
Use it.
And I tend to use the stock market as well at points, but let's use cars, for example. So you got January and you got snow, and they're calling for 10 centimeters of snow, and people are getting all worked up about it. The one thing people don't go to buy generally when it's January and there's snow is sports cars. Why? Because sports cars with rear-wheel drive tend to not drive very well in the winter. They're summer performance cars. These are things that people, a second April, May hits, and the snow has melted, and as soon as you get plus weather, first thing they want to do is buy real estate, and they want to buy sports cars. When I go to buy my sports cars, I do not buy them in April, May. I go in January. I go down to the dealership. They tell me, hey, would you like to test drive this car? And I tell them, how am I going to drive this thing in the snow? I know how it drives. I don't think you want to sit on this thing for 3-4 months. So here's my offer. I think you should take it. And you always get the deals. I don't see how real estate is any different. When April, May, and people get all excited and open houses are coming up more and more, and all of a sudden now you got multiple offers, you got bully offers. Why do you want to compete against that when you had the opportunity in the winter? You can get the same property at substantial savings in many cases. I personally think buying in the winter is a great time to buy real estate.
I would agree with you, but I wouldn't necessarily say that you're not competing anymore because I think the good inventory is getting multiple offers again. Like we listed a couple places this week that have offer nights, and it wouldn't have been my first choice to do a week ago or a month ago, but I'm starting to see the pent up demand. And with that comes an offer night actually working. So there was a property, it's very comparable to a property I just listed. They also tried the same strategy. They got a bully offer and they ended up selling right away. And a colleague I was speaking to the other day, he had a stale condo on the market, would not move for anything. He dropped the price from like $780, $790 to $599, and he got an offer for $715 the day after. Like there's something happening. Like people don't want to line up and go and put in an offer until they feel like someone else might put in an offer. So there is that still like we have a supply issue. The good inventory is moving, but once the first person puts in the offer, it's inevitable a second or third will come in.
I got to ask you a funny question.
Go for it.
You like funny questions?
Ask me whatever you'd like. You know, I'm an open book.
You know my mom, right? Wise woman, you know, has all these life sayings. So she says every pot has its lid.
Mm-hmm.
So in her mind, everything has a buyer, no matter what.
100%.
You see sometimes, let's say condos. You see a condo, there's no view whatsoever. It's dark. The layout, it's all hallways. It's a studio. It's one bathroom. It's grossly overpriced. No parking. Yet eventually it will get a buyer. So there is no such thing as a property not having a buyer. It's just a question of what you're ready to sell it for, essentially.
The property is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay. I've said it a number of times. And it's true. Like every property will sell for a certain price. Like have you ever walked into a place and you're like, you know what? It's probably not the best place, but if they offered it to me at this price, I'd buy it.
Absolutely.
So like there is the right price, and pricing strategy does make a difference, but also how it looks online makes a huge difference because people won't come in if it doesn't look well. And then when they come in, it needs to look even better than it looked like online.
But you know, as a real estate professional, I got this as well. I don't go generally to my clients' properties because as a lawyer, I don't actually want the liability. But I can tell you, I look at offers every day. I look at listings every day. When I come into a property, I can wave my magic wand and I get the specs. I know what the property's worth without looking at the listing. And you get this feeling, you know, immediately. And then sometimes they tell you what the price that they're going to be asking for. And I'm like, wow, that's twice what it's actually worth. Where did you come up with that number? Well, I've owned it for this amount of time. I paid this price. I should be getting this much in inflation. So I think 10 years later, it's worth double. They just come up with these numbers. I'm like, did you even look at the market of what comparables have sold for recently? Have you noticed at all sellers that kind of play that game?
Every seller.
Really?
Every seller believes their property is worth the earth, the moon, and the stars until we have a conversation about what their comps actually sold for. And a little trick to the trade is this. If you're a seller in the market, ask your agent to show you other properties in the neighborhood that are comparable to your home. So if someone's going to come shop for your home, let's say, for example, you believe your home is worth $2 million. Have your agent take you around to the $2 million homes in the area and see how your home compares. Because I can tell you this, if they haven't sold at $2 million and they're either more renovated than yours is, or worse than yours is, or whatever, it will give you a good baseline of what yours should actually be listed at. Because you need to be the best priced property on the market. You need to be the best shown property on the market for you to be sold first. So take a look at your competition and see how you stack up.
Think how cool it'd be if a family right now sitting listening to this on Family Day. There's no turkey to be eaten because it's not a turkey day, right? There's no Christmas tree. Imagine they had the realtor with them in their living room. First of all, tell them the comps and how much their current property is worth, and looking at potential listings and booking showings on Family Real Estate Assessment Day. Wouldn't that be so much more fun than sitting around doing nothing?
Jonathan has coined a whole new holiday. We're going to have to talk to someone about changing the date to Family
Real Estate
Assessment Day. Yeah, okay. Look, I love the idea of taking time over a long weekend and actually zeroing in on what is important in your real estate needs. And it is a good time to sit with your family and reassess. Is the home that I'm currently in the right fit for us right now? Is it something that we can grow into? Even if it's something that you're like, in the next 2-3 years, we might be looking to downsize. We might be looking to upsize. We might be looking to do something. It's never a bad thing to get like a health check or a wellness check done on your home. So bring a real estate agent in and figure out exactly what needs to be done. So by the time you are ready to make a transition, whether it's renting it out, whether it's selling it, whether it's doing anything to the property, you know exactly the roadmap to get you the most amount of money. And we have no problem coming in and talking to you about that.
Can I ask you funny question number 2?
Do you want me to come to your house right now and give you the assessment?
Give me an assessment. I need a life assessment.
Oh my God.
No, in all seriousness. So the thing is, I've kind of noticed that this can work both ways. But for those sellers out there that have an open house during a long weekend period or have offer dates around a long weekend period, generally, do those tend to be more beneficial for the buyers or the sellers? Are there more people looking around long weekends and putting in offers? Or are some sellers actually shooting themselves in the foot, so to speak, by doing that during a long weekend?
Okay, the best thing I can say is this. It depends on what long weekend we're looking at. In the warmer weather, long weekends are your detriment. You do not want to list before a long weekend. It does not work in your favor. Everyone's checked out and everyone's going away. So even running the open house for the long weekend, like people are gone. Family Day weekend, though, is a little bit of an odd one. People don't really leave the city for Family Day weekend, at least not people I'm working with usually. So running the open houses through it, having an offer date after it is not the end of the world, but we don't land the offer night on the day. Like you don't land it on a Monday because it's Family Day weekend. Monday is a holiday. We don't land it on that day. We don't land it on the Tuesday because again, people just getting back to work and getting into the groove of things. We land it on a Wednesday. So we'll still list it. We'll wait an extra couple days and then we'll do the offer night. It does work. We're going to find out in next week's episode if it actually worked, but I do list that way.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, a little legal tidbit, because I know this happens to people quite a bit. They put in their offers, the deal's accepted, the deal goes firm, the offer gets sent off to the lawyers. Lawyers right away respond back and say, by the way, you scheduled your closing on a Saturday. You scheduled it on the Monday of a long weekend. Can't close on that day. And people say, what do we do? Should I tell them what we do?
What do we do?
2 things we can do. Number 1 is just by default, we're going to close the next business day. Doesn't make the deal void, doesn't stop from closing, but we cannot physically close on that day because we need to have the computer registry system open. And that's only open on banking days and it's open till 5 p.m. If it's a non-banking day, being a weekend, a statutory holiday, it's not going to be open. We can't close. So we close it on the following business day. Or the 2 parties get together and say, okay, you know what? Let's close a day or 2 earlier. They can agree to any date at that point and just do an amendment. So there's workarounds, bottom line. But always check your closing date, check your calendars when you put your closings together. Make sure it's an actual proper business day to close.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. And it happens more often than not that people are like, okay, we're closed in 30 days. And it's like, well, how many days is 30 days? And it is a weekend or it is a holiday.
Yeah.
So you got to balance it out. We've chatted about this before. When is the ideal day to actually close on a property?
The ideal day to close your real estate transaction. So a person's, let's say you got a first-time buyer. They've never owned a property before. They're going to have their first closing. They're really excited. And they come to their lawyer, to the realtor, say, when should we close? Pretty simple. We do not close on the 1st of the month. We don't close on the 15th of the month. We don't close on the 30th of the month. You don't want to close on the first Monday. You don't want to close on the last Friday of the month for a holiday. In my opinion, my humble opinion, if I had to pick the perfect day, the absolute perfect day, it is the 3rd week of the month between, let's say, Tuesday to Thursday. Not a Monday, not a Friday, not the beginning of the month, not the middle of the month, not the end of the month. Nobody's closing on those days, which guess what? That means the banks can fund the money much quicker. Lawyers are less busy, smooth their closings. The moving companies are not jammed. No, you know, when you're closing on the 30th of June, let's say, and it's the last Friday of the month, all of a sudden your move's like, oh, so the other move that went yesterday went a little bit over. I don't have the truck for tomorrow. Sorry, the stuff is still on the truck. They had to extend their closing. You're going to have to move your closing date. You're closing on the 3rd week of the month on a Tuesday. Not going to happen. So dates matter. Some people, though, Elena, what they do is they say, you know what, I've been renting and my rent expires on the 30th. So I might as well, you know, save a few dollars by perfectly ending my lease at the time that I take over my house. No. Close your house first. Take over your house, get the cleaning person in there, get it painted, give yourself a week, 2 weeks buffer. When you're renting into moving into a purchase property, like we've talked about this before, that is the perfect time for you. Don't schedule both on the 30th of the month. Get your house closed on the third week, get it all ready, and then hand your keys over once you've already moved into your new home. Life is easy. Let's make our lives easy.
That's if you're renting, but we've also had this conversation about same day close. If you own a property, you sold it, you have a scheduled close date, but then you also buy the property on the same day.
Yes.
And why real estate lawyers advise against it.
Absolutely not to do that on many, many levels. But bottom line, you have to assume this much. You're purchasing, which means you're going to need a mortgage. And then you're selling, your buyer's probably going to have a mortgage as well. You need 2 mortgages to close in order for your purchase transaction to happen. So your sale has to close, which means your buyer's mortgage has to come through. And only when your sale closes, then you can start looking to close your purchase. What happens if your purchaser of your sale property used the B lender and the property's still not been funded and closed at 4:30 because there's still outstanding mortgage conditions, and then we have to extend that closing? We got a problem. Then we may have to extend the purchase as well. There's too many variables of things that could go wrong. I advocate either purchase first, use a bridge, or sell first, put your stuff in storage, and then close your purchase. You know what? I tried it once and I had my stuff, they picked up in a bin. So instead of having a moving truck, you have a bin. They put the stuff in the bin. The forklift comes, picks up the bin, doesn't move it around. Stuff stays level. They go put it into storage. You don't have to think about it. Then you close your purchase, get it all cleaned up and everything ready. And then they just bring you the bin. It's easy.
So I would say if you are in this market, what you should be doing is I know a lot of people, it makes everyone stressed. Selling a property before buying makes people stressed because they're like, where am I going to move? We will figure it out. It's not the end of the world. When you go to list your property for sale, give yourself the longest closing you could possibly get, which is usually about 90 days.
Yeah.
Then when you go to buy, you really only need like 60 to 30 days to close on the buy.
Yeah.
Close on the buy, and then you have your closing on your sale afterwards. Bridge the financing, move your property stuff slowly over to the other house, and close peacefully.
To make your life super easy, I love what you're saying here. It's those people that buy and sell around the same period. Before they even listed their property for sale, before they even went to look at properties, they already spoke to their mortgage rep. They already found out the costings on the bridge. They already have that game plan in place. So there's no stress now. You don't have to think about that.
I actually have that conversation with clients before we put in an offer if I know they're going to have to bridge.
Yeah.
I'm like, do we actually know what that number is that's going to cost you? And if it's minimal or if it's whatever, like perfect. But you don't want to be at the 11th hour trying to get your mortgage for your property and then realize you actually owe an extra tens of thousands of dollars just to bridge this.
What I tell people is this much, taking everything else aside. Imagine everything works perfectly in your life as far as a purchase sale on the same day. So you moved out of your sale property, okay? Let's say you finished around 12, 1 o'clock. Everything's on the truck, ready to go. You're moving towards your purchase. If you're lucky, the thing will close around 3, 4 o'clock, maybe. So the stuff will be on the truck for at least a couple hours, fine. And then guess what? It said in the offer that the property is going to be broom swept condition. What's my broom swept might be different than your broom swept, might be different than their broom swept.
Mm-hmm.
But for most people, especially people type A like myself, the property will never be clean the way I want it clean. I love taking the property after I get it, hiring my cleaning crew. I want it so clean that I can eat off the kitchen cupboards. I can eat off the shelves in the fridge. I want it that spotless. The $200 or so I got to spend on cleaning is the best money I'll ever spend. And even if I got to steam clean the carpets or steam clean the floors, because it's my one chance to have the property completely empty before I start putting the furniture in. Once the furniture's in, I'm never going to have a chance to get it clean like when it's vacant. So when I get that kick at the can to do the final touch-ups, to get that perfect clean property, it's worth its weight in gold.
Amazing. Well, we hope you're having the most amazing family day weekend /
family real estate assessment day.
This was Property Play with Jonathan Hacohen. I can't wait to see you at the next episode where we talk all things cohabitation. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.